How are
Hello.
you?
I'm good. How are
Hello.
you?
Good. So can you talk to me a little bit about the birth of the project? How did it start?
Sure. My wife sent me an article by Ginger Thompson, who's an incredible reporter at ProPublica. And Ginger had spent 2 years collecting oral histories of this event that took place 10 years ago in Allende and Coahuila, the massacre. And I was stunned because you rarely have the opportunity when you're reading journalism to spend time with the voices, with the actual lived realities of the people that the stories are about. And Ginger had opened the door to that, and it was really an emotional experience, but it was also a kind of analytic experience. She makes the link to the role that we here in the United States, the U.S. government, people like me, play in our complicity with these stories. It's not just some story from far away. It's a story that's really created in significant ways by us, right? The so-called war on drugs. And so it was a kind of a double blow. It was both stories of people that I just never had the chance to get to know. And it was also a story about me being complicit in that world and in those events.
I read in the production notes that you had to take intensive Spanish classes to
Sí.
get into the project. So I would like to know if this is part of the creative process, to immerse yourself in the cultural environment.
Y lo siento, mi español es terrible. I keep trying todos los días con mi Duolingo, aprender poco a poco, pero necesito hablar inglés. Really sorry. But yes, I did. The good news is I'm so bad with languages that it allowed the crew on the show to be able to make fun of me all the time, which I thought was important because my role, I always say on these kinds of things, and I've had this role before with Ang Lee, right, on many movies I made with him, is to be the ignorant person in the room, the person who needs people to explain what's going on. You could be the assistant, the driver, the caterer, or the star, or the director, but you're always in a position where I need you to tell me. And it helps unlock an enormous amount of energy if you can manage it from your team, right? Because people then are empowered to really bring what they can to the project and feel connected to it. And a lot of our team, many of our actors and our crew are from Coahuila, from the area right there, Piedras Negras, all around. So there was a deep personal connection that people were able to bring. And I was really honored to be able to kind of absorb that precisely, I think, because I was not in a position of knowledge. I was in a position of ignorance.
Mm-hmm. So like the whole crew nourishes you.
I try, we really try. And I hope you see it. For example, we crafted our production notes even for the show to incorporate all the voices, a sampling of them, of our crew. Because it was such an incredible experience for us as a team. It really was.
So it's a mix, okay? It's a mix of fiction and reality. So how did you do? What did you do to stay true to what happened?
Yeah.
Really?
I think, aside from my own mania for research, as well as that of my fellow writers, Monica Revilla and Fernando Melchor, who's also a journalist as well as being a great novelist. We wanted the grain of truth. We wanted reality, but we also felt an almost moral obligation to make the transition to fiction on behalf of our characters. So none of our characters are real people. Their stories often are pulled from the stories that we learned, not just from Ginger's reporting, but from elsewhere. But we felt that we wanted to open the door and invite people who never get to star in their own TV series, right? That is to say, the people who are, as our second assistant director, Janet Rodriguez said, it's like if you take the camera from Narcos and you just move it to the side and make all the extras the stars. That's what Somos is, right? And so we wanted them to be in our dreams and our fiction and our fantasies because they deserve that place too. So that balance that you rightfully mentioned between reality and fiction is also tilted in a way towards fiction for a reason, right? But that balance you feel in every side aspect of the show. I'll give you one example. I insisted that we cast the series 50% professional actors and 50% non-professional actors. So half of our actors are these incredible, Mexican actors, theater, TV. They're just amazing. Mercedes Hernandez, who plays Doña Chayo, just incredible actor. But the boy who plays her son-in-law, Paquito, Jesus, he'd never been on a set before until his first day. He'd never seen what it was like, right? These two had to create their own reality together, their own art. So they're both now professionals, but they had to negotiate in front of the camera to make a kind of feel, and I hope you felt it when you were watching the series, something very different about the reality that we have and the fantasy that we have. It's co-created between documentary and fiction.
Okay, so the show, of course, talks about what happened in the Allende, but it also talks about general topics. We have sex, gender, violence. Do you have a specific message for maybe the young generation?
I would say our message to this next generation in Mexico is honestly a response to them from what they're telling us. They're the ones, this is why I'm a little more hopeful, even after this very sad story to tell. 2 years of working in Mexico gives me a little more hope, because this generation is ready to talk. They're ready to watch. They're ready to think. And they're ready to challenge. And the challenges are huge. I mean, here in the United States, Mexico, we see very similar kind of political formations and distortions. But I think that we were taking our inspiration in many ways from a new kind of fearlessness that's not willing to live with the silence, this imposed silence that my generation has lived with for so long.
It's also on Netflix, which helps to raise awareness to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe around the world.
Yeah. So we will be airing on Netflix starting this Wednesday. And we specifically made the series for everybody. It's not an aesthetically avant-garde series. It's a very mainstream on the one hand, it's very mainstream. And on the other hand, it's kind of like nothing you've ever seen on Netflix or Mexican TV. There's something very different about it. So if we aren't successful at making you fall in love with our characters, then whatever our political message is doesn't matter, right? We're just boring. But one thing Somos is not as boring. So the Somos, I think our politics are we hope you fall in love with each person in our show the way we did. That we're actually introducing you to people you walk by in the street and you don't pay that much attention to in your own life. So pay attention, because they are us, right? Now, will there be political discussions to be had if the show gets discussions going? But of course, I mean, just last week, Proceso, as you know, probably dropped on their front page an expose about the current defense minister in Mexico, who probably was aware of the events in Allende 10 years ago, right? So there's a lot of political stuff to talk about. Mm-hmm. But our job, first and foremost, is please fall in love like we did.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.